Before you start using webVETA, you'll need a TSV file for each participant or dataset that you would like to look at, with the first column being the time in milliseconds, the second column giving the coordinates on the x-axis, and the third column giving the coordinates on the y-axis. If you have an image that you would like to have the data mapped against, you will need to do this in other software such as Toby Pro prior to uploading it to webVETA. In that case, the second and third column need to be in pixels, referencing the relevant location of the x and y coordinate on that image. Once the file is ready, you can simply click the Load TSV File button within webVETA, select the file that you'd like to upload, and it'll be brought into webVETA. By default, webVETA will cluster any consecutive data point that is within 25 pixels of each other into a single fixation. If you already have established fixations in other software and don't want to use this default clustering method, then you can just slide the maximum cluster distance down to 0. There is a default minimum fixation time of 0 milliseconds, meaning that there's no clustering applied to the minimum fixation time. But if you would like to establish a minimum fixation time, you can adjust that before refreshing the clustering. Where you have more than one dataset, you can just continue to click the Load TSV and load up different datasets or different participants into the system as many times as you need. Once you've loaded your data, you can also, by clicking on the load background on the right-hand side, you can also upload your presented image that the person's eye tracking was tracked across, as long as your data has already been mapped to it. By default, webVETA will crop to the area of the uploaded image. So, for example, as is the case here, if you have data that's outside the area of the image, webVETA will, by default, crop it down so that it's no longer shown. In the Overview tab over here on the right-hand side, in addition to being able to load the background and adjust the minimum fixation time, you can also save the project, load the project, adjust the background brightness, adjust the scale, or offset the data on either the X or Y axis. You can also crop your workspace down to a selected area, or zoom in particularly on an area of focus. You can use the Undo button to go back to the last crop selection, or the Reset button to go back to as it was when the image was first uploaded. When you have cropped, you can also use the boxes underneath the cropping button to make manual adjustments to the size of the cropped area and make sure you're focused on exactly what you want to be looking at. Underneath that, each of the datasets that we've uploaded will be listed, listing how many fixations occur for that particular dataset. When you click on any of these, it will reduce what's shown on the canvas to be just that dataset. By moving the mouse away again, it will bring all the other datasets back. Finally, in the Overview tab, this tooltip button will toggle whether or not you see tooltips when you're hovering over all of the other buttons in this area. If you want to change the visibility of the datasets on the canvas for more than just a brief check, you can use the eye symbol next to each of the participants' names within the Participants tab. You can also use the Toggle All TWI button to change the visibility of all of the datasets within this tab. You can also use this button here to toggle whether or not the time windows of interest, TWIs, are visible within this panel. The TWIs allow you to select a more limited selection than might otherwise be there and focus your analysis on that sub-selection. If you wanted to go back and see all, you can simply click on the all. You can add additional time windows of interest by clicking the plus button, or you can delete a TWI by clicking the trash can on that same row. And likewise, you can also upload a set of TWIs where you have these predefined. The format for uploading TWIs is that you have the TWI name in the first column, the start time of the TWI in milliseconds in the second column, and the end time of the TWI also in milliseconds in the third column. Again, this needs to be a TSV formatted file, a tab-separated format, and there needs to be no headers in the document when you upload it. Uploading it will overwrite any TWIs that you've already entered the system, but it can be a good way to manage the TWIs you have in there if you've got a predefined set that you'd like to upload. The other features that are available in this Participant tab includes the ability to be able to group your data sets into particular selections, to save, and create an extract in TSV format, which I'll show in a second, or to delete a particular participant. You can also sort alphabetically, sort by longest duration, by number of fixations, or by the group that the data set or participant falls within. Finally, the other thing you'll see in several places throughout webVETA is the useful help button. If I click on that, it'll open up the help page with the relevant section that I've clicked it in. However, this also contains the help for the entire system. Moving over to the Areas of Interest tab, if I click on this draw icon within the tab, I can then draw my AOIs, my areas of interest within the canvas. 3 different options for how I can do that. I can draw them through polygon, ellipse, or rectangle. To draw an area of interest, simply click on the canvas, drag, and click again. Similarly for ellipse, and polygon. Simply draw the edges of the shape that you're interested in observing. After an area of interest has been created, you can click in the corners in order to edit the shape and size, or click within the shape and drag to move it around to the area that's relevant for you. As you can see here, we've got several AOIs that overlap, and when that's the case, the system will assume that the AOI that's listed first in the AOI tab is the primary AOI of interest for any fixation that falls within that area. To change the order of the AOIs, you simply need to click on the dark grey area to the left of the AOI on the list and drag it into a new position. Now that we have some areas of interest, it'll be easier to see what the export of a participant's data will give us. If I click on the Save Participant File button next to each participant on the Participants tab, it will download a TSV file. This exported file gives us the time of each fixation along with its coordinates, the duration of those fixations, as well as a true or false value for each of the AOIs that it might be within. If you want to highlight a particular observation within the canvas, you can add notes by clicking on the Draw tool in the Notes tab, clicking within the canvas and simply typing the note that you would like to add. Each note can be connected to a participant by clicking on the drop-down underneath the entry within the Notes tab. Connecting it to a participant means that when you hide a particular participant, it will also hide the note related to that participant within the workspace. If you wish to move a note, while you have the Note Edit tool selected, click within the note and drag to move to the area that's relevant. You can click the Eye tool at the top to remove all notes from the canvas, or the trash can to delete a single note. Finally, in the Colouring tab, you can edit many of the different types of colours within the system by using an eyedropper tool, the slider, RGB values, or hex values. To save a project, you simply click the Save button, and it will download a zipped file containing all of that information in relation to your project. To load that back up, simply click the Load button, navigate to where you are keeping that file, and you can load up the same project and continue working.